as the situation worsens in the Gaza Strip, the 5th Global Convention in Solidarity with Palestine is underway in Johannesburg. The gathering is attended by Palestinian groups including Hamas, PLO and the Royal House of Mandela. Khayelihle Khumalo joins us now to tell us more about the significance of this gathering. Khayelihle, a good morning to you. I'm keen to hear some of the prominent figures that you're seeing attending this gathering as well.
Well, that's right, Naledi. Quite a very important occasion. So it's part and parcel, really, of the concerted efforts of trying to wage global solidarity in support of the Palestinian cause. Quite a number of organizations are in attendance. You do have the delegation from Hamas, but also Hezbollah as well, and so many organizations, including South Africa's ANC. And in fact, we're joined now by the ANC's Deputy Chair for International Relations, Mr. Babela. Thank you so much indeed for your time, sir. Quite a very important day. We know that the ANC has been very clear in terms of support of the Palestinians. What does today mean once again?
Well, today we are here as the African National Congress, joining a number of countries from all the 5 continents of the world who are gathered in Johannesburg to pledge solidarity with the Palestinians on the eve of Nelson Mandela's 10th anniversary passing away. And the theme is Nelson Mandela and Palestine. What can they learn from our journey of our struggle in South Africa? So we did portray yesterday the Nelson Mandela that is being celebrated as a global icon, that he started just as a chief volunteer in the Defiance campaign, went in to be the founding leader of a militant youth league in the 1940s. He then went and then said to Chief Lutuli, the time is now for us to take arms in order to fight and execute our liberation struggle in South Africa. So Palestinians wanted to hear those things, and they are taking those particular models. Any persons oppressed anywhere in the world, they've got the right to take any means available for them to liberate themselves. We don't condone violence, but if it means violence ought to be meted against that are oppressing the others, let it be. We went through that ourselves, but always leave space for negotiations. We did engage yesterday in the meeting that should negotiations come, obviously there will be conditions, release of political prisoners, the return of the exiles, the unbanning of political organizations, so that at the end, then there is a real negotiating platform for the independence and liberation of Palestine that is still unfortunately occupied by apartheid Israel. And people have been saying, why do you call it apartheid Israel? It is apartheid Israel because the same laws that we saw in South Africa during apartheid, they have been applied to the Palestinians. There's an apartheid hall, searches there, dehumanizing searches. They must always carry some kind of a document to identify whether they are legit or not legit. And then they are not allowed to stay in their own land. The land has been annexed, like land possessions that took place, dispossession that took place in South Africa is happening there. So therefore, it is important solidarity that we are here and we are teaching and sharing experiences with the Palestinians and the rest of the world around the solidarity with them. Hamas is obviously here, as earlier indicated. We will be meeting the Hamas delegation tomorrow as the African National Congress at Lutuli House, but also we will be inviting PLO and then Fatah, who are our historical friends, to also come in so that we could engage them around the end game with the struggle going on, resistance going on, what is going to be the end game in terms of whether they are ready for negotiation settlement, and what is it that is going to be. Is it still the two-state solution? Is it still with the 1967 borders, though it's impossible because a lot of Jewish settlements have now been built across. So those are the issues that we are going to be engaging with them.
And what do you make of those who have expressed consternation over presence of Hamas in South Africa? Do you think the country should open up to these groupings so that we see long-lasting peace?
Well, like ours, we had different organizations called the Resistance Movement. We also had liberation movements. Some were as extremists amongst, but when we went to talks, all of them were there. It's only those who chose not to be. So even when we had to engage on the Palestinian question for its ultimate settlement, we must talk to all those leaders of organizations within the resistance movement, within the liberation movements, and engage them to understand and also to share them with them our perspective of a struggle, so that at the end you can tomorrow, when they sit around the table, come to you for advices, and we'll be ready as the African National Congress, as South Africa, to share our own experiences of the negotiations. So don't lose anybody out, but also we have not declared Hamas as a terrorist organization in South Africa, so we are free to engage with everybody and every organization in Palestine.
And just before I let you go, sir, there was a bit of a reprieve when we saw the humanitarian truce, but it looks like it's exacerbating all over again. And again, looking at what's currently happening in Gaza, the aerial bombardment, the ground offensive, what would you say to the Israeli authorities so that they see that, I mean, if you talk about making sure that there is a solution, a military option is oftentimes not a very preferred option in this regard.
Definitely, military offensive cannot give you peace. Instead, it's exacerbated the war. We are saying to those who have been killed, whose friends and families have been killed, they must also go and join those who are fighting you. And therefore, this is not an end goal. So we are saying that the ceasefire must be permanent. The ceasefire must be now. It should not be a few days, because we knew that once the ceasefire is over, Israel is going to do what they did yesterday, killing 1,000 people in one day. Just imagine, and the whole world is watching. And we therefore say to Israel government that stop now, ceasefire now, let's allow now space for engagements and talks so that we could then find an everlasting peace. And I hope they will listen, but if they don't listen, it means they are creating a very difficult problem for themselves, because the world is mobilizing. The countries are coming together. The people are also on the streets saying, free, free Palestine. So the more the world is united, you will then find yourself in a corner as Israel. And then therefore, I think the moment is now for them to seize this moment and really give us that ceasefire so that we could then allow for peace and then talks and negotiations.
All right, sir. Thank you so much indeed for your time. So, Naledi, that's Albert Babela from the ANC. He is the Deputy Chairperson for the International Relations Subcommittee. And we do know that it's quite a very important day in South Africa. It's a 10th year anniversary since the passing of Nelson Mandela. So this is one of the ways of seeking support from South Africa, especially in a country where there was once apartheid, and the likes of Madiba and his anti-apartheid activists waged a war against the apartheid. So quite a very important day, especially as you know that Nelson Mandela said South Africa is not free until the Palestinians are free. With that, back to you in studio.
Well, thank you so much for that, Khayelihle Khumalo, bringing us that story.